Greetings and welcome to Jefficho Films. Today we're going to talk about a 1986 horror sci-fi, H.P. Lovecraft style, with Jeffrey Combs. Who doesn't love Jeffrey Combs? Well, let's review From Beyond.
I saw you die.
No, not die. Just pass beyond.
It was horrible.
A necessary rite of passage. Quite wonderful.
This movie starts out with Dr. Crawford in his lab, played by the legend Jeffrey Combs, working on a machine, checking his equipment, looking over the computer, and drinking a Coke. That's not a bad idea. A breeze hits the room when he activates it, and we see violent fish appear, so he turns off the machine, and it's gone. But it left a hell of a bite. He wakes Dr. Edwards and tells him that the Resonator's working, so they go upstairs and they turn it on, and he's having a different experience for sure.
It's out of control. You've got to turn it off. No, I want to see more. More than any man has ever seen.
The nosy neighbor and the dog are outside because they're tired of noise complaints, and the front door is wide open. The dog runs in, so she goes after it, and Benny the dog is just right outside the door of the Resonator. Crawford makes a run for it and gets the hell out of the building, but then is arrested by the cops. Why? I mean, yeah, Dr. Edwards is dead, but in no normal way. Then we meet Dr. Blotch at the hospital as she walks through some Star Trek doors. She meets Dr. Catherine McMichaels, played by the lovely Barbara Crampton, who's there to talk to Dr. Crawford. And she does, and he tells her that things came out of nowhere.
Dr. Pretorius believed that pineal was a dormant sensory organ, a sixth sense.
Yes. Well, that's not a new theory. The philosopher Descartes believed it was the third eye.
It's not a theory. It's a fact.
So Dr. Edwards' head has appeared to have been bitten off, which I'm assuming we realized that Crawford couldn't have done. He also has no blood on the axe, and I assume the head's missing, so check his stomach, I guess, officer. Stupid cops. McMichaels does a scan on his brain, and his pineal gland is growing. She gets custody of Crawford because she wants to recreate the experiment and prove he's not crazy, because she's got reasons, and we'll get into that. She also gets assigned Sergeant Buford Brown. He's going to assist.
I'm Sergeant Buford Brown, but my teammates call me Bubba. I used to play pro football. We were all crazy.
Crawford is scared to return, but that's an interesting address on the door. I'm thinking that's more of a personal touch when you've got 666 on your door. Bunch of creative geniuses. They're hilarious. We also see Dr. Edward Pretorius' kinky video where he's got some chick chained up. That's interesting. Not too long after, Bubba makes some food, and Crawford tells him about Edwards.
He used to bring beautiful women here. They'd eat fine meals, drink fine wine, listen to music. But it always ended with screaming.
Catherine wakes to the machine finished, and Crawford explains what will happen, that they have to stay perfectly still or they will see them. And he turns it on. We see the fish, we see jellyfish, and then Bubba gets bit. And Crawford's just about to turn it off when Pretorius shows up. Pretorius is kind of creepy. He wants them to touch him. And then he casually just rubs his face off. But Bubba's tired of this bullshit. Bubba gets sick after they shut off the machine. You can tell it stimulated a sexual desire in them, but Bubba makes it more blunt.
Well, how about the hard-on I got? Is there a statistical correlation for that, too?
Well, we know that the pineal gland helps to regulate the sex drive.
She wants to try the experiment again, and Crawford says she has the same look that Edward did. She wants to prove that it can cure schizophrenia, which, again, this is a completely different experiment. It just proves that Crawford's not crazy. It's not going to cure schizophrenia. Her father died as a vegetable because they did so much electric shock therapy to him and all this other crap because they couldn't cure schizophrenia. Like most bad decisions, they decide to sleep on it. Kat sneaks upstairs because it's like a drug calling to her, and she fondles the machine, which turns it on. And then Crawford runs upstairs and tries to convince her to shut it off, but she has a counter argument.
Turn it off.
No.
Pretorius shows up and gets a hold of her and starts fondling her. I'm talking mad gropes. Coombs tries to run down to the circuit breaker and shut it off, but he runs into a doom worm.
What was that?
vibrations must reach down here.
And then Pretorius is like trying to eat her head at this point, and Coombs is being swallowed by this doom worm, and Bubba manages to shut it off. I think Coombs got the worst of this because he lost all his hair. She didn't. So Bubba gives her a talking to. Bubba's gonna get the van ready because he's tired of this shit and they're leaving. She decides to walk around Edward's sex dungeon and puts on some sexy bondage clothes and starts to fondle an unconscious Crawford. Until Bubba walks in, but can he resist?
Look at yourself! Look at yourself! Is that who you are?
The power starts randomly connecting through special effects and plugging everything back in and turning it on. So Crawford wakes to it and they all head upstairs and there's shit-covered locusts just flying at them and it eats Bubba. Pretorius returns to be even more creepy and he explains that Crawford is evolving into something that has never been and the third eye protrudes from his skull. Kat manages to freeze the machine briefly. Get the axe, lady. She does manage to turn the machine off because sometime later, Crawford's at the hospital with Dr. Block trying to grab his third eye. The cops are angry because, they lost Bubba and more shit went on that was unexplained to them, even though they now have a second witness that says this is what happened. So they leave Kat in Block's care, and she's a psycho.
Prepare her for electroshock therapy.
But, Dr. Block, hospital policy says
Hospital policy dictates that the nursing staff is to follow orders. Now do as I say.
Crawford wakes up looking like a soul hunter from Babylon 5 as he wanders the hospital, and Dr. Block is going to do electric therapy on Kat because her story sounds crazy, but she isn't, and this should be illegal. But, back in the times, they used to do this shit. Maybe not the 90s, though. So I guess we're left with Crawford to be our hero, as he's eating brains. So, that's good. Block runs into him, and he sucks out her eye so he can eat her brains and has at it. I guess that would be faster. Through all the chaos in the hospital, Catherine manages to escape in the van. Crawford sucks out a couple of ambulance drivers' eyes and, eats their brains. And then he gets an ambulance and drives off. Catherine has a bomb. I'm guessing this is Bubba's van and he's a cop and he just randomly carries bombs in his van. She attaches it to the machine, but Crawford shows up and grabs her and chains her up in a sex dungeon. I like where this is going. Oh wait, no, he's going to eat her eye and then her brains. So I don't like where this is going, but she does take his snake eye, his little third eye in his forehead that protrudes outwards towards her, and she puts it in her mouth. I like where this is going. Oh gosh, she bit it off. But that does kind of bring him back to normal a bit. The machine's back on, Pretorius shows up, and Crawford goes full Crawford and starts to taunt his ass.
She'll know, Edward, how pathetic you are. How you can't make love. Maybe you could teach me.
Then he turns into a bat, slaps him down the stairs, and eats his head. Did not see that coming. The interdimensional snakefish from beyond managed to free Kat as she shook her wrists and they bit her bonnings. And she goes to head upstairs and she finds Crawford's body. It's got that little twist because I guess when he eats head, it twists it off. You can't just bite it straight off. It's weird. And then water starts flushing down the stairs as she heads towards the machine, which is pretty freaking cool. And she goes to turn it off, but Pretorius is there and she battles him. And she doesn't do too well until this happens. It's Crawford! Only Coombs, the legend, could get his head bitten off and have his consciousness transferred into the beyond, and then appear inside of his enemy and rip his mouth off while crawling out of it. So awesome. Kat decides not to just escape here and watches the battle, but she does manage this just in time. All in neighbors of the surrounding area randomly come up to her and check on her. Her knee's pretty messed up, and she starts diabolically laughing. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, and Coombs came and he saved the day, and he got you out of there, and you survived to tell the tale of what happened. But you're not going to tell him anything. You're just going to laugh and get committed to a mental asylum. The end! Crampton and Coombs have worked together many times, so they must have fun. This movie is fun. It's messed up, but it has a lot of great ideas. From the underlying sexual addiction to the drive of becoming something greater. From our point of view, Pretorius turned into a monster to be stopped and destroyed. From his point of view, he became everything. His mind understood the world in another way that we can't comprehend. Yes, to us it was disgusting, but is it? It seems like a form of immortality, and you're just stuck in the beyond, trying to venture into this world. Would you let something eat your head so that you could live forever? I mean, no one wants this life to be the end. Maybe it doesn't have to be.
He's become the thing that ate him.
Crawford, we saw the same things. We proved you're not insane.
I'm not so sure.
No. You faced your fear and you overcame it.
In the end, this is a cult movie which I enjoyed a bit more than Castle Freak. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I enjoy this movie. It's definitely a movie when your friends are having a movie night, you should be like, oh guys, we should watch From Beyond. It's a really cool film. Just to weird them out. So, I recommend you check this out because it's pretty entertaining. As always, guys, thanks for watching.